Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
So I will wait for the students to join in.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Please let me know when to start. I will start
Okay,
session.
sir.
Hello, Harilakshmi ma'am. Hi, Sweta.
Sir,
Yeah, so I'll be waiting. Let me know once the students are there. I will start.
yes, sir. We've informed to coordinators. They are
Sure.
responding. Just few minutes, sir. Sir?
Yes, yes, I'm there. I'm just listening.
Yes, sir. We will wait for 2 to 3 minutes, sir.
Hello, Hari Lakshmi ma'am and Sweta ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm waiting. No problem. Just let me know when to start. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm just waiting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And anyway, whoever has joined the session, happy Dashera to all of you.
Thank you and same to sir. Sir, I will inform sir. 1 minute.
Hello, Hari Lakshmi ma'am and Sweta ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so let me know when to start. I'm just waiting for.
Sir, 2 minutes, sir. I'll let
Sure,
you know.
sure, no problem. I'm just
Okay.
waiting.
Sorry for
No
disturbing.
problem, ma'am. No problem, ma'am. I'm just.
ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಪ್ಪ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್? Hello, Shilpa? Hello? Shilpa, are you there? Coordinator from CK Tech?
Hello.
Hello, Shilpa.
Hello. Mama, this is Sandhya from Sport 3.
Okay, madam. Madam,
Yeah, ma'am.
one
Students
thing.
are. No, ma'am. Dasara holidays for students.
Okay.
So they are in native. Already I informed them to attend the class.
No, do one thing, madam. Here afterward.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah,
uh,
ma'am.
you make a group of students.
Uh,
Then before sir comes, no, 1 o'clock class is there. Half an hour early only you start contacting them and ask them to join it. Okay, it's very
no.
important. They are all top people. No, they each and every minute is important for them. Correct?
Yeah, ma'am. We are
Not
informing,
make them
but
to wait hours together.
they are in native, ma'am.
Wherever it is, whoever is possible, at least
Already
minimum
it is
10.
group. It is there. Already group. It is there. We informed through the group only. Even I called to students also.
At least 10 students are there means you can take the classes. Now for 1 or 2, how long you will take the classes, correct?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also true.
Somehow
What-
you have to coordinate with them and get them before sir comes. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now how many students are there according to
I
you?
think 6 are there.
6.
No,
I-
ma'am.
They are leaving.
Only
one.
3
one-
are there.
yeah, 3 are there. Whether we'll continue with the same students? Is it okay? Hello.
3 students are there.
Yeah, we'll continue with the class.
Yeah, ma'am. You can.
Okay,
I
thank you.
informed them to attend.
Okay,
Mm.
thank you. But here afterwards, make sure that they will join before sir comes. Okay, sir or madam comes. 1 o'clock is the class means 2:30 only you start communicating. It's 12:30 only you start communicating to them. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sir, are you there? Sabyasachi sir?
Yes, I'm there.
Sir, you can start. Some
Okay.
5, 6 students are there. You can start. Because, sorry, sir, because it's a holiday, they are all went to native, it seems. some of them may not get the connectivity. That's why numbers are less, they are telling.
Okay, ma'am. So, students were there. So, first of all, happy Navaratri, happy Dashera, and happy Durga Puja. So, I hope all of you have enjoyed. So, if you can unmute and just say a few words. Hello, students. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
So, I hope all of you have enjoyed Puja or festival. So, are you in Bangalore or are you in your hometown? Okay, so maybe if others are joining, so what we have learned in the previous classes, we have learned what is Industry 4.0. We have learned about the AI. We have learned about basically IoT. And what we've learned is that artificial intelligence, how it basically depends on the few characteristics. One is generalized learning, reasoning, the problem solving, right? So you have learned about the weak AI and the strong AI. So weak AI basically it focuses on one task, and strong AI that is basically only exist in the fictions. So still work is going on, and till we haven't got a strong AI what we are looking for. So using AI, what you can do is add up and basically looking into the with the reasoning to have a provide the solutioning for your what you are achieving to have, right? And what we learned is that machine learning is a technique, right, to achieve basically using the with the past experience, right, and mapping those capabilities to machine learning. What you can get is basically uh, using algorithm and logic to basically we are going to see in the machine learning how it is in the next few slides. We are going to see and how AI and ML is interconnected and related, and basically ML is basically a subset of the AI. Now, deep learning is a subset of the machine learning, and it is inspired by the human brains. That means the data and the pattern can be better precise, right? And what we see is the deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So AI is basically the science of getting machines to mimic the behavior of humans, right? That's what we have learned. In short, machine learning is the subset of AI that focuses on getting the machines to make decisions by feeding them the data, and that data basically we can get it from the past, right, or basically the data that we feed into. And deep learning is the subject of the machine learning that uses the concept of neural networks to solve complex problems. AI, machine learning, right, are basically interconnected fields, and machine learning and deep learning helps AI by providing a set of algorithm, isn't it? Yes, students. And neural networks to solve data-driven problems. However, AI is not restricted to any machine learning and deep learning. It covers a vast domain of fields. Example, natural NLP, that is natural language processing, object detection, computer vision, robotics, and expert systems, and so on. And also what we have learned is that AI can be structured into three ways. One is artificial narrow intelligence, that is what we call the weak AI. And it basically does a basically single kind of a task. Then artificial general intelligence, that is the strong AI, and artificial super intelligence, right? Which basically what we are in the future, we are doing a lot of experiment to get that kind of a machine to have having artificial super intelligence. Artificial then is basically what we learned is basically in the Hello, student. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So there was a power failure. So for a few minutes, I think we were disconnected. So anyway, using my hotspot, I can get connected. So if there is any disturbance, please let me know. Or if you're not able to hear me, kindly let me know. So for example, in the finance sector, the JP Morgan Chase, the contract management platform, uses AI, machine learning, and image recognition software to analyze the legal documents and to extract the important data points and causes in a matter of seconds, manually reviewing. So more than 1 lakh plus agreements, which could have taken over, right? More than 36,000 hours. Using AI, what we are going, for example, in this, just give you an example, where in the financial sector, you need to basically the contract getting signed, like JP Morgan is one of the leading bankers in USA. So they use AI for basically detecting the key data points and clauses into the agreement. Otherwise, if manually, if those has been done, it used to take huge amount of time. And AI was able to do it in a matter of seconds because using the algorithm and logic, it was able to provide the information that is desired information, scanning through all the documents in a very, very less time. Right. So this is another example I can give. That is, for example, AI software, especially for the medicines, more than where 230 healthcare organizations worldwide uses the IBM Watson technology. So as you know, IBM Watson is another kind of a machine that has been developed using AI, right, ML. And in 2016, for example, IBM Watson technology was able to cross-reference more than 20 million oncology records and correctly diagnoses a rare leukemia condition in a patient. So as you can see, this kind of also support we can take and get help from the using the AI and ML, right? So another example I can give you is basically Google AI doctor can examine the rare scans and identify a condition called the diabetic retinopathy, which causes blindness. So using that, using the artificial intelligence machine learning, it is basically programmed to identify this kind of a disease and which can be done in a very, very short time. In case of social media like Facebook, AI is used for face verification, where machine learning and deep learning concepts are used to detect the facial features. And where also you have done is basically you can tag your friends or using the facial recognition, right? So that those are the things in social media you can do. And also, for example, Twitter uses to filter out any hate speeches or terrorism activities in speech and communication by using the machine learning, deep learning, and NLP to filter the offensive content. And more than 3 lakh terrorist account has been closed using this AI. Otherwise, it is not humanly possible to go through each of those tweets and check which are basically used by the terrorist or basically the people who are detrimental to the human, right? So, in fact, you have seen that some of the social media has been used by the terrorist organization to create a large offensive. Now, if this can be identified before, then this could have been stopped, right? So, one has to understand how powerful the AI tools are because they can do and prevent this kind of activities beforehand. So a lot of secret agents or government agencies uses this software to check any of the social media, any kind of a crime is getting plotted or any anti-national activities are planned or terrorist activities are planned, and based on that they can take action. Of course, the most important thing, I think, if you want to learn anything or you want to understand anything, you always go to the Google and do a search, right? So Google becomes a best teacher sometimes. So you can see in Google, the predictive searches are based on the data that Google collects about you, such as your location, your age, and other personal details by using AI, right? So that is why when you search automatically based on your previous search, your habits, or basically any other information that has been fed by you into your system. It collects all those information, and based on that, it provides you the net to the searches that you're looking at, right? So the AI, the search engine, attempts to find what you might be trying to find, and with this, you're able to see that basically using this, Google is always try to help you in a much faster way, isn't it, student? Yes or no? Hello, students. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me share my screen and let me know whether you're able to see or not. So are you able to?
Sir, it's visible, sir.
Great. So we have, after the Industry 4.0 and AI, we have learned about the IoT, right? So what we learned about IoT is that it is growing in a phenomenal speed, right? And what in 2025, what we are looking at, more than 80 billion IoT devices will be around us. And actually that provides very importance to all of us, right? And because any of the basically smart things, that devices that you use, you require an IoT device and the semiconductors also. Now I will just tell you a story about this also. As you know, most of the semiconductor market actually is managed by one country, and that is Taiwan, where basically 60% of the global chips are produced or managed by the Taiwanese companies. And as you can know, that if there is a war between China and Taiwan, that will create an havoc into the supply chain. Isn't it, student? So previously, if you are aware that in China, there were two political parties, one was Sultan and another was basically the other party. Now, during basically when the Japan made the invasion during the Second World War, both of them basically combined together to fight against the Japanese. But after the Second World War, there was difference of opinion, and the opposition party basically were forced to leave China, and they went and settled in Taiwan. And under Mao Zedong, the basically what you see at China, that is now grown up. But the people who came to Taiwan, they basically invested a lot of their energy and effort to basically have an advancement in the technology. And also they basically developed a high-end semiconductors, and because of which basically you will find the most of the top chip manufacturing company are from Taiwan, and they're basically supporting more than 60% of the chip, right? And as you can aware is that when if there is any war between China and Taiwan, though what we see is that China wants basically a policy where they think that Taiwan is part of them, and whereas Taiwan says they're not part of it. And there is a lot of turbulence that you can see on this. So whenever any American ministers goes there, or in fact, any Indian ministers also goes there, or basically when other country recognizes Taiwan, China comes very strongly against that. But for the world to have much safer place and have less dominance in this kind of a chip manufacturing, we need basically to have a separate country called Taiwan. In fact, this has been understood by the rest of the world also. And in case of India also, they have also understood that we need to have, cannot depend on this basically chip for a long time, because if we have to grow in our own IT industry. Because the smartphone you're using, the smart mobile you're using, the smart TV you're using, a smart fan, or the washing machine or your fridge or your laptop or desktop, right? Or iPhone, whatever you're using, all has got chips into it. So India basically also announced a PLA scheme where almost around 80,000 crore rupees India are going to provide as a funding to those chip manufacturer who plans to manufacture chips in India. And that is how the semiconductor industry in India, what we can foresee, is going to increase by leaps and bounds. Already few of the large enterprises in India has signed some contracts, right? Vedanta Group or Tata Group or other groups also. And they're planning to set up large semiconductor industries in India. And as you can foresee, that means those there are basically huge amount of scope for all of you to go into the semiconductor industry. You have to understand for those chip design, there is a huge market and potential. Right? Now, having those chip to be manufactured, then basically programming this, you need experts in IT fields. So this has to be a lot of AI and ML work need to be done. And of course, in the manufacturing sector, who are doing electronics and this thing, they can also get a huge basically scope. So that is also an upcoming industry what we can see in India. And not only that, the USA is also basically investing huge amount of money to set up semiconductor industry in USA. And also in Europe, in fact, in Germany, like Infineon and others near the Munich, they're setting up a huge plant to basically have Hello, student. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got disconnected. So please let me know because if I was talking, I do not know where I basically mentioned last. If you can let me know. Hello, students. What you heard last time? If somebody can volunteer, then I can basically start from there. Because I don't know when I lost you. Anybody want to volunteer? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Hello, student.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So please keep interacting with me, because today I'm seeing network is fluctuating in my place, and sometimes if there is no network, please let me know. Okay. Now, what I was talking about, very, very interesting thing that is happening around you, and where I think you have got a lot of opportunities. I was talking about how the semiconductor market, basically dominated by Taiwan, and basically Taiwan semiconductor industry, which basically dominate the whole world. Now, what we can see is that, as you know, any of the IoT devices that you see, or any of the smart devices you see, basically that requires a chip behind it, right? And if there is a chip, that means that is basically require a semiconductor, right? And this chip manufacturing, since if you have seen during the COVID times, right, when there was basically the logistics was a big problem, that export import was not happening. You have seen that a lot of industries actually has to shut down their factories. For example, the automobile industry had shut down some of the factories around the world because they were not getting the chips. Because any of the smart devices in the automobile, right, you require basically the chips. Now, for example, the smart fridge, smart TV, all require chips. Now, if those are not available, then what will happen? All the industry is going to suffer. And that is going to be a detrimental to the workforce that is working on that. Similarly, for you students, as you can see, there are a lot of opportunities that is coming around to you. For example, the chip design. In fact, a lot of this will require using AI and ML, right? To basically program them, algorithm them, the coding of this. And where I can foresee there is a huge opportunity that is lying in front of you. For example, in India, using the PLS scheme, India is also trying to promote the semiconductor industry. And already they have budgeted around 80,000 crores to basically support the manufacturing of the semiconductor industry for the large enterprises who's going to invest that. For example, Vedanta, Tata, and other companies has decided to basically set up huge semiconductor plants in India. We have seen the huge assemblies that is happening. For example, the Samsung has created a large industrial enterprise in the Ganga Yamuna highway. In fact, we have seen basically some of the Taiwanese companies which basically does the assembly of the iPhones, like Foxconn and others. They have already set up huge basically plants in India. In fact, near Bangalore, there is a plan by the Taiwanese companies to set up a huge industrial city, and where they're planning to have almost 1 lakh workforce to be working on that. So as you can see, if to have those kind of a huge industry setup, and you want to have basically the growth of Indian economy, then of course you need basically the raw material, the subcontractor, the whole ecosystem around it also need to be developed. And if it is not developed, then those industries will not be able to set up their business, right? And more industries comes, it's more opportunity for all of you. So you can see this is a trend and mega trend that is happening, that actually is going to benefit you, right? So are you ready for this? Yes, students. Hello, students.
Sir, voice is not audible, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
No,
You're not able to hear me?
yes.
Let me know whether you're able to hear me or not.
Suchitra, please check your audible audio. It's audible. Sir, voice is audible.
Okay, sir.
If you're, let me know, because then I can basically share my screen again. Please let me know whether you're able to see my screen,
Yes.
right? So as you can see, using why I was talking about that, because as a student, you need to understand wherever you have got passion, right? If you work on that, then of course you can do a wonder, because then whatever the hard work you are doing, it will not be an hard work, it will be your passion that you're following it. So there are basically a lot of opportunities that are coming up. I'm just going to talk some of them, and so that you can understand which is your area you want to focus. If you focus, you can achieve a lot. Now, IoT is basically a thing that is basically in great demand that is going to be currently now, and more it will go up in the coming days. So what you see is the IT-enabled mobile devices. It is basically you have the data centers where you can have the IoT-enabled cities. That is what we call the smart cities. We're going to talk about the smart cities also, because I see that is another trend, a mega trend that is coming up, where only one smart city, for example, the Neom city in Saudi Arabia, which the government of Saudi Arabia is spending around $500 billion, right, and which may go up to $1 trillion. You can understand Indian whole economy is around $3.5 trillion, where only they're investing such a huge amount, right? Next is that India is also planned around 100 smart cities, and of course, a lot of investments is already going on. And as per the estimates, already India has planned around 1.1 lakh 80,000 crores of investment, and out of which more than 1.02 lakhs of investment has already happened in the smart cities. So those are basically another area where I foresee a huge demand that is coming up. Next is basically whatever the in logistics, if you see the plane, the train, you have the cars, right? Basically driverless cars, autonomous cars. You have seen the autonomous train engines also working. Now, those all are basically but the smart things, right? They require IoT or the chips. Next is you have seen basically the smart factories that are coming up, right? And those smart factories also require a lot of IoT devices, because each of these devices need to talk to each other. You have seen the digital twin, right? All basically in the gaming also you have seen basically how the gaming industry has basically grown up, and all are basically using all of you are using the smartphones or smart tablets or laptops to play those, right? And all those things basically, the chips are basically semiconductor to use that, and all are because of the IoT, right? Any question before I move on to the next slide? Yes, student. Any questions? So, what is future of IoT using the machine learning? The Internet of Things generate massive volumes of data from millions of devices, right? And as I have told you, it is basically currently it is more than 20 billion devices around the world, and it will go up to 80 billion devices by 2025. And machine learning is powered by data and that generates insight from it. And machine learning uses past behavioral to identify patterns and builds models that helps to predict future behavior and events. So using the past pattern or behavior, we will create basically using the future behavior or the patterns. And for that, big data analytics is used. And as you know, we will come to that. That is another area. If anybody is interested, can look and work on those areas also. Machine learning inferences can supplement or replace the manual processes with automated systems using statistically derived actions in the critical processes, right? So with machine learning for IoT, you can ingest and transform the data into a consistent format, build a machine learning model. So that is basically very, very important. That is, you can create a machine learning model. So how you can do it using algorithm and logic that and the coding, and where basically you can use those models for you, right? Deploy this machine learning models on cloud, edge, and device. And so it's not only on premise, so there is basically cloudifications of this is also done. And we will also learn what is PaaS, SaaS, and IaaS in the one of the slides later on. That will also provide you how basically you can engage yourself in the cloud, right? For example, using machine learning, a company can automate quality inspection and defect tracking on its assembly line, track activities of assets in the fields, and focus consumptions and demand pattern. Right. So, for example, whenever using the pattern or basically kind of a logic algorithm it builds in, any material that is in the assembly line, if there finds any defects, right, then basically using that parameters that has been set by the programmer automatically that can identify the defects, and without any manual intervention those can be basically detected. Either it can be removed or it can be rectified so that there is no loss of time and there is a continuous production that is happening. Okay, any questions? Yes, students, please be interactive, otherwise let me know again we have lost it or not. So are you able to hear me? Hello students, are you able to hear me?
Sir, it's
Hello.
audible.
Yeah, just let me know, because if I don't hear your voice, then I can think that something problem, maybe you're not able to hear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So AI and IoT, right? So as you know, there is a lot of connection with AI and IoT. All of the connected sensors that make up the Internet of Things are like our bodies, right? With the like a blood flows through our veins and connect with each other. They provide the raw data on what going on in the world. Because as you can see, using the IoT, you have got each device can talk to each other. Artificial intelligence is like a brain making the sense of the data and deciding what action need to be performed. Similarly, as you know, to the brain, you need to basically the veins and other things, right? Arteries, like in human body, are connected to it, so that from which the data flows and connected to the brain, and similarly from the brain it goes through these veins and arteries to the respective place. Similarly, using the IoT, the data flows into the AI, right? And AI basically using what need to be done based on that again goes back, and based on that it reacts. And that is how, without any human touch, right, this whole thing works on. For example, you think of a drone. Now, if there is raining, or if it is basically a storm is coming, and if it is in a remote place where basically the operator who's working on that lost the connectivity, then basically the drone using the AI can maneuver itself and basically go and pass the obstacles and reach to the designated place where it was supposed to reach. So as you can understand, there are a lot of AIs that have been using AI, how you can basically adapt to the situation the machine can move forward. You have seen using AI how an autonomous car or Tesla car, if you have seen a Tesla car, then how it has moved through recognizing the different objects, right? What speed they're coming, and based on that, automatically takes its decision and move forward. Okay, so what happens? All these connected devices IoT are again are like our bodies carrying out the physical actions or communicating to others, which I explained to you. Machine learning and deep learning require massive amounts of data to work, and this data is being collected by the billions of sensors that are continuing to come online and on the internet and of things, that is IoT. IoT makes better AI, and AI makes IoT useful. So this is what you need to understand. Any questions before I move on to the next slide? Yes, student, any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Please be interacting. Please let me know if you have got any questions. Now, this is very, very important, right? As you can see in this picture, right? What are basically the how we are process the data. For example, I'm talking to you, right? Similarly, in a machine, when it using the voice recognition on the speech recognition, right? What it does, it basically understand the speech. Now you have seen in your mobile phone, call my father, call my mother, you will say. or call my friend, giving the friend's name. Automatically, basically what happens? It calls your friend. Similarly, Alexa or Siri, if you say and tell them that I want to listen to this music, it will play that music for you. So what it does a kind of a speech recognition, voice recognition, right? Then basically it converts into a text, and using the NLP or NLU, the natural language understanding. So it basically converts into the data meaning. And after that, using the natural language generation, it basically converts into a text. And with the speech synthesis, it's able to basically process that and operate those. So
Sir, with your permission, can I enter for 5 minutes?
yes, please.
This is Dr. Sarit Kumar. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Doc.
Students, you have to understand one thing. Why, students, can you hear me? This is your course director from Kionix. Dr. Sarit Kumar, can you hear me? Yeah, see, students, you have to understand that what is the teaching process? The teaching process is wherever you are, in whatever fashion you are, whenever you get an expert time, try to bring out these 2 hours. It is going to be helping you a lot, because my L2 is going to teach you theory. Your professors are teaching you theory. But you know what happens when you go for an interview? They only expect these practicals and application which your experts are giving you. And if any one of you answer in the interview any one of the examples which you must have learnt about 20 to 30 examples, you've got the job. They are not going to ask you what is AI. They are going to ask you the applications of AI. They're going to ask you, as Sabyasachi is explaining you, how exactly it is going to be used in future. Because you all are going to be engineers of the future. You are not going to be engineers of the past. So please make use of these courses, whatever little time that you have. We have allowed you to take these courses from your mobile. Why did we allow you? Because we want you to become more practical and application oriented, and then connected with theory. Believe me, all of you will get a job. Otherwise, you will be getting one more certification, but without a job. We all want to make you job ready. That is our motive of giving you this way of teaching. This way of teaching is going to definitely equip you with the job. And that is the reason we have kept Mr. Pillai, who will try to, connect the dots, whatever the L1 and L2 is teaching you with practicality, how to answer in the interview. And that is offline. But these online classes, they come from a huge experience of international status. They are trying to give you, Mr. Sabyasachi, I think if he is working on 25th, which is a working day, he has taken out a time from his office. So make use of them. That is our motto. Make use of them, and then continue with your, other professors. Wherever you are, at least log in with your mobile phones and try to get experiences. That's all I can say. Okay? With whatever time that you have. Carry on, sir. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, sir, and wish you a happy Dashera also, sir. Okay, students, so if any questions from your side, otherwise we'll move on to the next slide.
No, sir.
So let's move on to the next slide, and this is very interesting. That is, what is future of AI, right? Now, as you have seen, many companies around the world are using AI, right? And also, I've told you the Chat GPT. In fact, the person who has created Chat GPT has already been talking about that there has to be some regulations need to be done, because the amount of investments or amount of work that is going into the AI, right? It should not create a kind of an AI which is not able to regulate in the future. Elon Musk has already said that proper regulation also need to be done, because it has to be done with some framework for the betterment of humanity. So what we are going to, the future of AI is that machine learning platforms are among the enterprise technology most competitive that they're using, and they are basically using by multiple vendors, which include Amazon. You have seen the Amazon. When you basically use Amazon, there are basically, you have the search in the Amazon. If you search anything, right, automatically, for example, based on your past history or your past orders, what you can see, those kind of products are basically listed in the top, isn't it? Then you have got chatbots, which basically answers 24/7 to you, all your queries. In Google, you have the search engine, right? Which basically powered by AI. IBM, I've talked about Watson, and there are so many of developments that they're doing. And using these platforms, right? They're trying to basically get into huge contracts with the customers. And basically, those are mega deals that are happening around the world. So, for example, if you can check on some of the things that is latest trend that is happening, what we foresee is also that data is going to be like a gold mine, right? For example, the Crate, if you heard of that company, which basically provides you some minute, basically cash rewards or this thing. But actually, that company is basically trying to get as much of data as possible. And the work already is happening in the AWS cloud, Azure cloud, Google cloud, right? Because they want them to move into those, and they're basically where they can have the data, right? Next is that, for example, just like Craig, now if you so many people are working on this, now based on that, a lot of marketing companies want to have that data based on basically what are the people kind of purchases they're doing, when they're doing, at what time they're doing, which is the region from which this purchase is happening, or what are the credit card, whether it's a Visa or MasterCard they're using, or it's a Rupee Pay. So based on this, they dissect the data, right? And try to basically find out for the marketing for the product or the services they want to launch. So as you can see, with this kind of information that is available, in the future, the data modeling, the training of the data, right, or application of the data will be basically a huge trend or mega trends that are coming up. And you need to basically think whether are you going to work on those trends or mega trends that, right? Whether you want to do work on the analytics or using AI, how you can do basically for the industry you're working in, or basically as an analyst, how can you can help those companies to create a new market for them. You have seen before, for example, if you the Fuji films and other things, right? People used to go and buy those films and then click a photo, but those has gone into the past. Next came digital cameras. Of course, the digital cameras, a lot of people purchase. Pager also came for this thing. But now with your mobile phone, with good amount of pixel that is giving, people are using the digital camera for the high end, basically taking photos. But if you want to take a normal photo, right, you're using your own mobile. You're not going to go and take another digital camera along with it. So you can see how that there is a change in the technology that is happening around you. Now, how these trends and mega trends basically obsoleting some of the technologies, right? And there is, if you see in a mobile phone, there is a convergence of technologies happening, right? And your phone is becomes more smarter and smarter, where you can do a lot of things. For example, if you want to order a food, you can use Swiggy, Zomato. If you want to go and book a cab, you can book Uber, Ola, right? If you want to do a trading on the stock market, you can do it easily. For example, some of you, as I said, you want to basically listen to this whole presentation, you can use a mobile, right? Connect to your Zoom and you can basically see the presentation. Isn't it, student? So as you can see, there is a huge change of the technology that is happening, and that is what the future AI is going to take it to. Any questions, students? Hello, students, any question? Now, this is basically a sample which I wanted to show you. Now, for example, this is, I hope all of you can see my screen, right? Now, for the knowledge management or key user support, how currently this is being used. For example, I create a lady called Keva. Look, this is basically a chat kind of a chatbot, which basically like QNX. Based on that, I give it the name. Now, for example, you want to select some subjects, right? Or you want to do basically want to raise a tickets, right? Now, this smart lady basically, based on the questions and answers fed into the system, will able to answer this 24 by 7. And also basically using the AI, right? What it will do, it will provide you answers that are smartly basically based on the machine learning, right? Of the data fed, it will be able to provide to you, right? And what happens in the industry, this kind of thing we always propose, because as you know, in case of AMS service, application managed services, right? Maybe some of you will be working on that. Now, there is less human touch that is going on. And as you can see around the world, there is basically war is happening between Russia and Ukraine. There is basically and Israel and basically Hamas is fighting. There are basically so much of uncertainties that is happening around this globally. Also, the failure of banking in the US market, the prices of crude going up and up, which basically affecting the all the countries, right? Also, what you see and foresee is that the food grain crisis is happening because Russia and Ukraine basically export huge amount of food grains around the world. Now, all those things are basically is doing what? Increasing the prices around the world. So the companies basically are going to, if they have to stay into the market, they have to manage their cost. And if they have to manage their cost, then basically what they need to do, they have to basically outsource their IT services as the lowest bidder, right? Or basically to those companies who can provide the least cost. And as you know, in IT industry, human resources is the maximum cost, right? That means how to reduce that, you need to automate your business processes. You have to basically using the AI and ML, how you can using less human touch into those basically support tickets, right? Now, that is how, as you can see, there are basically a lot of work that is going to happen. And where, as a student, there, I foresee there are a huge amount of potential that you're going to have when you're going to learn AI and ML, right? And based on that, you can do the coding and which can help this industry. You have to understand any case of automation, right? That is using the Blue Prism or UiPath. There is an initial investment that need to be done by the companies, right? Where the proper coding need to be done, how to automate that. And where if you are trained and if you learn it properly, then of course there is a good potential for you to get a good salary, and also among all your peers, right? Among all your friend circle, you will get basically the top-notch jobs. But you have to work hard for this. So as you can see here, based on some of the questions and based on basically, for example, there is a password reset need to be done, right? So using this kind of a virtual assistant person, right? The already whatever the feedback that has been the programming that has been done or based on the previous kind of the tickets that has come automatically without any human touch, right? Based on that, it does the password reset. Now, another thing you need to know in an industry, there are basically segregation of duties, what we call SOD. That means a person, for example, who purchases, right? He or she cannot do a good receipt, who and she again cannot do a payment to the vendor, right? So generally, these all duties are segregated so that there is no fraud happening. Now, based on this, the parameters of framework that has been created in the company. Now, when they're doing basically authorization is also given, right? In fact, using the virtual assistant, the here like a Keva, he or she can basically help to create a profile for the new joining, right? Which basically, or basically, the person who is coming to the organization will require to have an access depending upon the particular job code that he or she has been assigned. Right? So Now what it does, there is no human is required. So one can see what is the job code, and based on the job code, it will basically the position the person is having. Similarly, using the AI, it can automatically give the access to the person based on the input that it has got. So as you can see, without any virtual, no manual intervention, the person gets basically the access to those kind of activities that he or she is required to do. This is just what example I wanted to give it to you. So how basically here in the industry that is getting done. So we have got the ticket management tool, that client ticketing system, and with this, basically all these automations that have been done, basically the inputs that have been fed up. Now, if it's not able to answer any of these questions, it will be tricky questions, or maybe it require advanced monitoring or advanced basically inputs from a person, then it does allocate the ticket to the next level, right? And then basically that configuration or any changes need to be done, that is done. Now what happens, it basically as a continuous improvement, those questions and what is the feedback need to be done also are put into the database of this system. And that is how basically what happens whenever next time this kind of a question comes, without any human intervention, it able to resolve it, right? So this is how in the industry, as you can see, the cost is getting lower and lower, the automation is happening, and where you can foresee and yourself, you can place yourself in those areas and learn yourself into those area, and you can do good for your basically increase in your activities and go higher and higher up in the ladder, right? Any question in this? Can I move on to the next slide? Yes, students.
No, sir.
Now I'm going to talk about a sample, basically kind of a platform, how it is used. So this is called the Sample Industry AI Intelligence Automation Platform. Now I have told you basically you have the voice recognition, you have got the data, image recognition from the video, multiple sources it comes, right? In a ticketing tool also or this thing. Now using this, basically what it does, it has got a queuing system based on those data that is coming in. It does the request interpretive. Also, when we do a knowledge transfer that happens, right? So there are basically those videos, so the knowledge transfers are recorded. And based on that recording, automatically these are fed into kind of a into the platform, right? And it basically looks into what are the kind of errors happens, it gets the knowledge, and whenever those kind of ticket comes, it able to resolve. Next is how it happens using the data pre-processing. It moves the data into the what we call the AI brain, and the AI brain, it has got basically deep learning NLP processes. It has got machine learning based on the past data, right? Other algorithms, right? And then it creates a knowledge builder. And of course, based on the self-learning using the AI, it does its own learning also, right? And multiple anomaly detection, the categorization of the data it does, right? And then basically based on that, it using the AI connector, it basically populates, right? Kind of the reports that you're looking at. And the dashboards, those reports are populated. And again, it's like a continuous process. Anything that at this moment, those data it could not, or queries it could not resolve, it move on to the next human, some of the resources which are in the placed after this with bare minimum. Once they resolve, those kind of what are the, how they fix it, those again are put into this platform, and based on that, again, without less human touch, it able to resolve if those kind of queries comes in. Right? Any question into this? Yes, student. Hello, student. Any question? Are you with me? Are you able to hear me?
No, sir.
Okay. I move on to the next slide. Now, industrial application in the agriculture, and as you know, agriculture plays a very, very critical role in India also and around the world, because without food we cannot live, and the resources are limited, right? Then we need to know how to optimize it. So there are numerous IoT applications in farming, such as collecting the data on temperature, rainfall, humidity, wind speed, pest infestation, and the soil content. So what we also foresee is that whenever we want to grow the different kinds of crop, we do a soil testing, right? In some places, it is done basically as free of cost, or based on that, we know what is the soil nutrient. Also, we need to find out where is the groundwater available and how much quantity is available. And based on that, the kind of crop that need to be grown are determined. Because the farmers also wants to have profit after growing those crops. Right? So this data can be used to automate the farming techniques, take informed decisions to improve the quality and quantity and minimize risk and waste, and reduce the efforts required to manage the crops. Okay. For example, farmers can now monitor the soil temperature and moisture from far distance. You do not need to be basically sitting in the ground. Using the sensors, you can find it out what is the temperature. You can find it out what is the moisture content. Similarly, you can have from basically remote places, the sprinklers, you can switch it on. And also you can find out which is the ground that requires more water and which requires less water. Based on that, you can proper utilize your water for watering your field. Isn't it, student? So you are using with the minimum resources, maximum benefit to your land. Now, if there is a rain that is happening or a prediction of a rain that is from the weather forecasting happening, that fits into the data. And based on that, you can basically switch off your sprinklers or can use very less water that day, right? So that with minimum of your resources, you're getting the maximum output. And the wastage is also less. And using this IoT Accord data to precise the fertilization programs. Now, fertilizers are also can be inorganic or organic, right? Now, each fertilizers basically need to be done is based on the your how much of basically based on the nutrients and kind of crops you need to grow. Now, these fertilizers, if you put it too much, right, it will be detrimental. You have to put in a particular quantity and it has to be spread out throughout also. Now, using the fertilizers, right, you can basically use human or you can use drones to do that. Similarly, your pesticides also, there are multiple basically insects or bugs which can destroy whole crops. You can basically use proper uh, kind of using drone or basically using remote places. You can use those spraying of those into your field, right? And also depending upon the what kind of pest or this thing use, maybe surveillance camera, you can find it out and based on that you can use it. So as you can see, the whole agriculture has become modernized and using the technology you're able to do it and much better yield you're able to do it. So the overall goal is that from the data from the sensors coupled with the farmer's knowledge and intuitions about his farm, right, can help to increase the farm's productivity and help to reduce the cost. So that is the most important thing. In fact, when I was working for a very, very large chemical company of Europe, they have got basically does kind of a soil testing for those lands. And based on those soil testing, the nutrients, the water level, the minerals that it has got, it basically recommends its customers this kind of fertilizers and chemicals you need to use in your land for the highest yield, and depending upon the what kind of a crop that you need to do. Similarly, there are basically consulting or consultants who basically tells what kind of a crop that they need to basically harvest to get the maximum result. And as you know, if basically same crop is basically sown again and again, it basically reduces the nutrients of that land. So they will also predicts this, what are the crops that basically they need to change so that to keep the soil nutrients and the fertility of the soil as much as possible. Right. So as you can see, there are a lot of basically scientific research are going on using the AI, ML, and IoT, which is actually helping the farming. Now, if you have seen basically the salmon, if some of you take fish, and if you see the salmon farming that are basically done inside the sea, a huge kind of a ship they're having. In the ship, it's after basically they catch the salmons, they process it and packed it, and from there itself, basically putting the barcode, they sent it around the world. Now, for a store in basically in USA, for example, take example Walmart. Now, Walmart want to know from which location or which area this salmon has come, because based on that, the pricing will be done also. Because people can basically know the taste of each of those salmon, and based on the taste and the pricing are also done, and they can basically have a premium price if it is from some region where the fish tastes very, very good. It also depends upon basically the size and also of the fish and of the age of the fish. So, which is basically the nutrient, and basically having the very, very the fish, if it is very particular age, will give you the maximum good taste, right? So all those things are determined, and based on that, the pricing is also done. So as you can see, based on multiple parameters, this has been done. Similarly, once in a container, they can put basically track this from which place to which place is coming, right? So for example, from Norway, if those are shipped to USA, they can track the whole container and where this container is currently are at this moment, and all those things also helps basically in the supply chain management. Yes, student, any questions? Yes, student, any questions? If you don't have questions, I move on to the next one. I will going to give you a case study, right? In this case study, what we're going to learn is how the kiwi. So how many of you heard the fruit kiwi? Hello students, how many of you have heard the fruit called kiwi? Or you have eaten the fruit? Okay, so as you know, in India, a lot of this kiwi are, you can go to the market and you will find that kiwi, and generally you will find those are in a particular size, right? So this is a case study about basically coming from Italy. Where there is a precision farming is done using the smart irrigations platform. So what they've done, they've used the wireless sensors networks, right? And which suppose a great opportunity because of its low installation, maintenance, and also operative cost. So they're using an IoT platform to collect the information from the sensors and other information sources such as the geo reference cameras, pictures, or multi-spectrum analysis of satellite imagery. From satellite, they can take the pictures, right? And the includes models to help the farmers in the decisions and alerts for irrigation, for basically how much of fertilizer they need to put, or any pesticides they need to put, right? All those helps helping to the customer, to the farmers. Farmers have been able to monitor without interruptions the soil water status or have irrigation always under control, because you need to know the groundwater level, you need to know what is the oil water content into your soil to have basically a proper yield of your crops. Okay, so they can using those sensors, they can basically get a report at a periodic intervals which they have set up for them. The deployment of soil water status sensors at different depths has allowed to compare the effect of irrigation strategies. As I was mentioning you, they can put the sensors at different level of the soil, and which will really help them to understand what is the water at each level of the soil. And farmers has a prompt warning about the water stress conditions to recover from a growth deficit. So if they find any of the basically layer there is less water, they can have the sprinklers and which can be switch on, and that can be also be automated, right? Using AI once it reaches that basically the level where they find that the water is less, they can switch on those sprinklers automatically. So no human intervention is also required. Now, as you can see, this is a company called Formosa. That is an Italian company that works on the technology-based support for agriculture, offering a solution for crop monitoring and management. They have developed a wireless sensors network in a kiwi plantation, develop accurate irrigation strategies for farmers. The main aim has been testing the reliability and the cost, right, during the kiwi growing season. Now, here in this picture, you can see some sensors has been put. Are you able to see my screen? Hello, student.
Yes.
So you will. That's what if you go and buy kiwi in the market or see kiwi in the malls, right? You will find they are in a particular diameter or particular size, right? Now, based on the diameter or based on basically particular size, they are basically get a pricing, right? So what does the company has done? The company has installed two different wireless sensors are monitoring the soil water status to plan the irrigation in the kiwi orchard, or and they have also in the fruits, as you can see, they have created sensors to check their diameter and basically whether the crop or the fruit is ready to be picked up or not, right? Using the sensors, they can find it out. Now, in this picture, as you can see, using the sensors, they're able to basically find what is the diameter of this basically fruits, and what they're doing, they're sending it into the through the IoT, through the cloud, and from that, basically, they're getting the information, and based on that, whether they need to do any kind of basically fertilizer they need to put additional or they need to put any pesticides. Next is that whether the fruit is right time to pick, because that will only give them the best price, right, for these farmers. Yes, student, any question from anybody?
No, sir.
Okay, so next let's go to another country. Now we go to China, right? Now in this is basically using the smart meters, right? Now you have seen how your electricity bills comes, or basically you have seen your basically water bills comes, right? Generally nowadays no person comes to your house to check the meter reading. That happens automatically. This meter reading happens, and based on that you get a bill at the beginning of the month to pay for their last month's usage, right? Now in case of in China, the Shenzhen Water Company, what it does. So let's go through the case study. So this will help you to understand much better how using IoT, AI, and ML they're able to manage the whole processes much better. So IoT will deliver some significant benefits to Shenzhen Water Group, including the reliability and transmission, as IoT based upon the networks, it shares high quality attributes and associates with the technology, right? So what happens is that if based on this, the messages that are sent are received are reliable regularly and the network is stable. And if the network is not stable, then there has to basically reloop into it and basically rectify it. And most thing is that all the industry around the world try to look into how they can basically standardize or harmonize the business processes, how they will basically standardize the basically the networking so that it becomes more reliable and they are basically also stable. And another thing, they look into the scalability of their basically the infrastructure they're building. So these are some of the parameters they basically look into, right? So what this company does, it basically roll out your water meters. So and into your multiple houses, right? Now it would have been very, very difficult and time consuming, right? If they have to send basically hundreds of the people into go and read basically the what is the amount of water usage, right? That they have to pay the salary. Now, using this IoT, the IoT devices which can send back the data, right, to the monitoring station, they will know exactly how much of water has been used by these houses or the where they have been installed, and based on that, they can send the bill basically at the end of the month. So as you can see, in remote places, if a person has to go and travel, right, it would have taken a lot of time. And also unnecessarily, there will be a wastage of time of sending the bills to the people, because after getting the data only, they will basically again need to check, correct it, and then send the bill to those houses, right? But they will not able to send at the particular date to all the basically houses where the water meter has been installed. They had to do in basically part by part or basically in phases the billing, and that would have created more problem on the reconciliation front also. Now if there are water metering that has been already been installed and they provide the data, right, and to the monitoring station, what happens, it can do the billing immediately, and all the reconciliation is happening automatically, since this is basically coming from those meters. Any questions, student? So I'm not going to read it for you. I'm just going to tell about the stories, what is happening, so that it basically you can understand. Now, what happens is that this water metering, somewhere it is need to be connected, which are basically in remote places, or it basically need to be there are basically some kind of a issue with your people going and getting the information from those remote places. Next is that sometimes there can be underground, sometimes in fact you have to basically in the building it, different places you have to go and check it, right? So that also basically a wastage of time for the people going and reviewing it. So what happens is that you have got basically the meters are installed in a proper way, right? It will generates the data and send it back to the monitoring system from where it can monitor. Now, using a particular format or in a particular way, if the standardized way, all the information is the same. Because if you've got hundreds of people, then basically go and checking this, they can report in a different ways, and that also becomes a big problem. Proper, there can be human error, and also that can lead to basically your billing not able to provide proper billing also. Now you have seen sometimes in a long time, maybe sometime back, when you check with your parents also, sometimes there is to a fluctuation in electricity bills, because sometimes the people were not able to come and check the metering, and that's why they used to put some average, and after next month they basically find it out, and they used to put maybe an amount which is much high, some month low, some month high, though you're using the electricity in your house, basically having the same average usage is happening. To eliminate all the user bad experiences, if you have got proper metering, like smart metering, and which basically provides information back to your source monitoring system from your monitor, then of course the automatic reconciliation happens. And what it helps is also it basically provides less confusions, and also provides you the accurate data that need to be for based on which the billing need to be done. right? Any questions, student? So I'll go back to another example, right? This is in Croatia. That is, Croatia is a country in the Europe, in the eastern part of Europe. So here, basically, they're trying to basically have what is the air quality around that, right? Now, in a city, if you are staying, right, if your air quality drops, it basically not good for your health, right? It has got carcinogenic effects also. For example, those people of you who have been staying in the northern part of India, like Delhi and other places, right? In the winters, you have seen basically there is a lot of fog, and what you have seen is that you are finding it difficult to breathe, right? And you have got a lot of lungs problem that are also getting. Now, people will then basically start leaving those places, or basically will not able to go and work also. I can give you an example. A few years back, I went to Beijing, right? When I went to Beijing, in fact, in China, my colleague basically came and gave me some mask because the weather was basically a lot of pollution was there. In fact, I was going to a factory there for a consulting. In fact, they said after 5:30, basically, you have to leave because more and more the evening it comes, more fog it comes, and basically it becomes very, very difficult. And outside also, when I was working in the street, I have to wear a mask and I need to work, right? Because of the pollution and this thing. So as you can understand that the people who are living there are always basically having a health issue with this kind of condition. Similarly, you have seen in Delhi, you have got odd and even car was basically thought of to reduce the traffic. Then also, if there are too much of fog and this thing, you have heard that the trains they're basically getting delayed, the flights getting delayed, and also a lot of accidents that are happening because people are not able to see in the road also. So if they have got basically a proper sensors, right, at particular points in the city, and if you can measure those pollutions and this thing, you can take proper actions, and based on that, you can basically reduce the amount of pollution. You've seen in India, for example, they have basically what they found in the northern part of Haryana or Punjab. After the cultivation, basically the straw they were burning and which were creating a lot of pollution. Now, they have basically started using that whatever the waste into ethanol manufacturing, which also gives some extra money to the farmers. And you have seen now currently the ethanol mix diesel or petrol is coming in the market, which is also helping India to reduce the oil imports, right? So working on multiple aspects, one can understand what are the issues, one can work on those and create basically a solution for that. And here the IoT is basically helping them a lot because using the IoT, right, the devices, the sensors, they can basically collect information, which part of the city, what is the pollution level, and based on that, they can take proper action, right? Any questions? Yes, student, any questions? If you don't have any questions, I move on to the next slide. So basically, what we have seen is that using these smart devices, right, they were able to manage and give better life to the citizens, right? And I'm not using basically now currently in India, we have got 5G. So in some of the countries, they are using 4G also and using basically how the citizens get benefited, right? Using the IoT powered with the air quality sensors. and based on which they basically able to understand what the pollution level is there. Again, you can find is that basically you have got the solar, basically street lights, and also based on the sensors, what you can see is that if no pedestrian is there or no car is there in those roads, in the night you don't require those street lights to be on based on the sensors, and that also helps in your smart way of reducing your energy cost, isn't it? Okay. Any questions, students? Let's see if you don't have any questions. Let's go and about what are the 14 growing industries of the future, right? Let's watch this. Please let me know once. Are you able to hear and also see the video? Yes, student.
Yes, sir.
Everybody have a good week? 14 growing industries of the future. In the past few years, the leaps being made in our entire global economic system are quicker and larger than ever. Not many economists or tech experts can answer with confidence how they envision the economy 20 years from today.
I did say a few years, didn't I?
As new technologies are prevailing, new horizons are being tapped, and new industries are being shaped that we never thought of until recently. Being able to forecast these changes will be the most critical factor in your decision to pursue a certain career or invest in one industry or the other. That's why we thought we should imagine together which way the ship is sailing. So, here are 14 growing industries of the future.
Understand, these are not the only ones, right? So there are much more are there, just a few of them.
Number 1, Internet of Things. In the past, the internet was the thing that most of us.
So Internet of Things or IoT, which I've been talking about. So as you can see here, panelists and everybody is talking about. So this is going to be the future that is going to play a major role, right? Are you ready for basically working on those areas?
Used only when we were on our computers. Then, some years ago, it began making it to our mobile phones, then our video game consoles. And today, we're heading in a path where we won't need to say, I'm on the internet any longer.
I did not see that coming.
Almost everything we use, both indoors and outdoors, will be on the internet, from our fridges and washing machines to our power supply and home security systems. That's why knowledge of networks, data communication, and software will be skills that are needed in pretty much every single industry out there. Manufacturing, construction, and service industries will be on a constant search for new internet-based mechanisms to incorporate into their product in order to gain an edge in the market. The tech geeks will become the ones helping operate our entire environment. The Internet of
Microsoft just announced.
So as you have seen, the Internet of Things, for example,
yes,
right?
it's true.
Internet of Things will actually include almost all of the things.
Internet,
so helpful.
Number 2, artificial intelligence.
So IoT, for example, or Internet of Things is basically going to play a major role, and where the trends and mega trends are looking into that area, right? So there is a lot of scope for IoT.
Google studies our behavior. Facebook learns our preferences. We ask Siri to find us near places to eat. And we let Amazon guide us through the vast aisles of the digital market. Ever since the machines began acquiring knowledge of their own, they have taken huge leaps towards developing a real, humanly consciousness. Today, we're on the verge of an era where we will move around in self-driving cars, work alongside robots, and read books or listen to music that was created by a machine. Some of us are actually doing some of these things already.
Alexa, can you pour me a cup of water?
Watch.
The field of artificial intelligence in the coming decades will become one of the most vibrant arenas for endless experimentation. Also, as everything becomes connected thanks to the Internet of Things, more and more data related to our behavior will be collected, and the machines will have infinitely more material to learn from. Don't forget that artificial intelligence is not only a field that is exclusive to the computer scientists. We're talking about creating brains like ours, and potentially ones that will even be way more powerful than ours. They will live with, talk to, and affect us. That makes the field as much a field of interest for computer scientists as it is for psychologists, philosophers, politicians, and managers. There will be people to create it, others to observe it, and ones to decide how we will live with it. Number 3, cybersecurity.
So, cybersecurity is going to play a major role in the future, right? Just to let you know, one of the example, there was a major cybersecurity attack that happened in India, where basically the whole power grid in Maharashtra went down, and almost it was a good number of hours the people were without any power. So it was basically known that there was a major cyber attack that has come basically from a neighboring country, which is not too friendly with India. Some of the cyber, basically some of the people who has the hackers who are originating from there. Similarly, what we have seen is the major, all the countries like India also has got set up their own cyber security cell to protect all vital installations and government installations. Similarly, all the companies, right, around the world, they have their own cyber security systems. And that is why you will find when you're working in an organization, you will be asked to change your password at a periodic interval, maybe 60 days or 90 days. Next is that where the data is kept, basically the server rooms, only a very few people will be allowed to enter the server rooms, right? Similarly, you will find that some of the companies which are basically highly secure, for example, if anybody is working on Airbus or any defense manufacturing companies, like in Europe, they will always be basically access will not be provided outside Europe or those countries. Or as per the GDPR rules, access will be provided only to the citizens of that country. For example, if you take the healthcare, right, in UK, the patient's informations and other things cannot go outside that country, right? So they need to, the whoever basically providing the support or this thing or the cloud need to host the servers in that country. So there are basically lot of restrictions that are coming, and more with the information flowing into the cloud, the proper basically the security need to be done so that the cyber security need to be basically performed, and there are huge enormous scope that we can see that trends and megatrends are coming. So if you have got any questions, please let me know.
We've already talked about 2 industries that will make our entire existence more and more dependent on computer systems. With that will come more vulnerability to cyber attacks. Hackers are already able to access bank accounts, steal classified state information, freeze entire companies completely, and get their hands on our personal information. Without proper cybersecurity systems, though, they will soon have potential access to everything connected to the internet, which will be almost everything around us, from our houses to our cars to the medical equipment at hospitals. That's why the cybersecurity industry is our only hope for any real security in the future, and so it will grow all the more important as more things in our daily lives get connected. This industry is our main safeguard against humanity's future dreams turning into real nightmares. Number 4, genomics. 15 years ago, exactly in 2003, the US founded Human Genome Project, which had begun in 1990.
So this is going to be another major area where a lot of resources happening, and billions of dollars are getting invested, right? The pharmaceutical companies, the basically drug manufacturing companies are spending huge amount of money, because through which they will try to basically predict what kind of diseases are there and how to basically provide vaccinations and medicines based on this, and also the treatment that need to be done.
Was finally capable of sequencing and mapping the human genetic code. This project cost $3 billion. If things had stayed at that cost, the industry wouldn't carry much hope since not many people would have been willing to enter into something that expensive. But today, sequencing a genome can cost just around $1,000. Today, the field of genomics is at its highest level of vigor, with players like Bill Gates and Google jumping on its bandwagon with billions of dollars in investments. With the research being more facilitated, genomics is expanded to completely transform our understanding of the human body's components and our ability to cure and nurture it. Our safeguard against cancer, diabetes, and even our hope to quickly adapt our bodies to the sky-high rates of change in our environments in the decades to come all lie in genomics.
So you can understand if a patient that comes with level 1 or level 2 of diabetics, right? Now, based on the gene, basically sequencing, right? And depending upon whether they have got a hereditary or basically stress level, and when this kind of a level 2 diabetics is happening, some are basically particular kind of food or basically beverages that sparks basically or different what kind of the time that spark happens in the sugar level. So just giving an example, this all can be analyzed using, and also there is a big data that is getting involved, and using the big data, a lot of analytics has been done. So as you can see, one related to another, and which basically using the AI and based on the machine learning of the past history of pattern and data, one can basically predict when the person, for example, can have a heart attack or what kind of disease that it can have. And based on that, proper basically cure can be done for that person.
That's an industry that is expected to become worth more than $20 billion in 2022. That's only 1 year from now. Number 5, drones. Drone technology is now becoming more and more affordable in the same way we just mentioned with genomics. In the near past,
Are you really struggling?
So you have seen
working
basically
very hard,
in case of drones
working
also,
very
right?
smart,
In
but
case
yet
of drones,
there were times
there is a huge potential that is happening, and India in future is going to play a major role. You have seen how the Created Drones deal has been done. That is 31 drones from USA, which is almost a $3 billion dollar, and where basically the assembling of that will be done. Now, the drone industry is not only for defense; it is for surveillance. It is basically used by the logistic companies. It is also, for example, if you have seen some of the festivals happening or any matches that is happening, you have seen the drones flying up and taking the photographs also, right? So we will also study more on the drones later on, but drone is going to be a major part, and India is basically investing huge amount of money. And a lot of companies has also come up and started manufacturing drones in India. And just to let you know, India started also exporting some of the drones around the world, right? So like Armenia, India is basically exporting some drones. So around the world, again, there is also government boost is that export drones to the other friendly nations.
when drones were only novelty items that most of us only associated with war and bomb dropping.
The missile was just a precaution.
Today, drones are already becoming central to everyday non-military tasks, like photography, journalism, and like Amazon's use of them for delivery. The future is all for drones, though, and they...
Right, so in case of drones, one of the major problems is basically dropping of the article from the drone to the ground or to this, right? It can carry the basically the article, but if it's a fragile, right, then how basically it has to hand over to the person, or if it drops, whether it's broken or not. So a lot of research and others, I think, also gone through all those things, so that for the logistic companies, for example, if you think of your Amazon or some other coming and delivering to your home, rather than a person coming and delivering from basically the warehouse, right? A drone carries and give it to you. You can be standing in a balcony, the drone comes and give it to you. And for that, the drone can basically recognize basically the correct person is giving in or not, using a facial recognition, or basically using kind of a voice recognition of that person, and based on that, it basically comes in delivery. So, as you can see, the more and more advanced the technology becomes, you will find it that it becomes more and more convenience for the users, and user experience basically going to have a high user experience using them. So this is a kind of an examples I'm giving. So as you can see, there is a whole change in the technology that is happening, and you are part of it, and you should be aware that how it is changing your life also.
Will become used in everything from agriculture to delivering emergency aid for victims of heart attacks. As they keep on gaining some intelligence of their own, as they already are, it won't be long before law enforcement agencies start using them for patrol and let these flying hawks identify the bad guys. There's literally no limit to the potential drone applications. Number 6, robotics. For several years now, more and more warehouses and manufacturing plants have been including robots in their workforce. Now we have Sophia, the Saudi Arabian humanoid that was the first robot to acquire a national citizenship. And there are robots that are entertaining the seniors in retirement homes in Japan. Very soon, we'll be having robots as our friends, co-workers, and in-house assistants.
Blood on my mat. Handle it.
That's why we now have robot relationship researchers to decide what set of rules will shape our interactions with robots. Some people might be afraid that robots will one day take over our jobs, but if you're a person working in the vast field of robotics, that's not a fear that you should share. Number 7, virtual reality. Being able to simulate certain situations and environments without the costs and risks of the same experience in real life opens up a goldmine of potential applications that we could or could not imagine at the moment. The technology of VR is already being used by military forces to train their soldiers, people who are taking driver's license tests, as well as in video games. Companies.
So I hope all of you have been playing some or other video games, right? For example, you've been playing the Pokemon or other, where you can see kind of animation things around you, and based on that you get some points or capture those animals. Now all those things, it's basically a paradigm shift of what we were playing before, and happened with this new advent of the technology, right? You have been part of this, and you have been enjoying this, and you have been getting a different user experience. Nowadays, basically using the VR also, a lot of training happens, right? Maybe the flight pilot, for example, rather than going and using the some of the hours actually into the flight, taking the flight, you can go and basically in a moderate way, basically going into those kind of training session using the VR it is doing. So that also it saves basically time. Also, it saves a lot of money because, as you know, fuel is very, very costly, right? So this is how it brings a lot of benefit to the users, to the society, and to the industry. And it is going to be used more and more as the coming days.
Are also using VR to train their employees, like ExxonMobil, who use the technology to train its engineers and field workers on fuel production processes. And that's only the tip of a massive iceberg. Number 8, nanotechnology. There are countless ways.
Most services businesses fail
Nanotechnology is
because
another
the
area
only
where
person who can deliver
what we
the
see is a huge
Ways in
field
which
of coming
we,
up.
as a species, have our hopes hanging on advancements in the fields of nanotechnology. Today, there's extensive research in the field, with the applications ranging from medicine to agriculture. The possibilities are being studied regarding how we can use nanotechnology to speed up bone cell growth, the detection of cancer cells, creating self-cleaning surfaces, and implementing healthier and more efficient irrigation methods. All of that potential says that the future of nanotechnology is only pointed in one direction: endless advancements.
Where'd that come from?
It's nanotech. You like it?
Number 9, renewable energy. For several years, a growing number.
As we know, basically the resource is limited, right? So one has to foresee basically how we can use what are the energies, renewable energies. Renewable energies are like basically sun. Using the sunlight, we can generate energy. Basically, using the waves of the sea, we can have the energy that can be transformed. Then, basically, using the winds, we have got wind farms or windmills that we can use it. Next is basically like hydropower, using the force of the water in the river, creating a dam, how we can basically help in generating the basically electricity, right? Now we have seen basically coal plants. Now it generates a lot of gas, right? And which is basically also detrimental to human health because those are carcinogenic, and the basically petrol and diesel also. Similarly, coal, petrol, that is oil and coal, right? These are basically limited, right? Or the gas also, because we have got a limited quantity in our earth, and more we use it, it basically depleted, and maybe one day we will have without any this kind of resources. So the trend is basically how we can use renewable energy and basically more of green energy. Green hydrogen, that is basically India is also investing huge amount, right? So you can see these are the kind of industry that are going to come up. Next is ethanol. Now already, as I told you before also, from the crops and from the vegetables from the West, it is basically creating ethanol, and which is basically now currently, as you know, 10% of the petrol or the diesel, you've got ethanol mix. By next year, the plan is to have 20%. And in Brazil, it is already a very high percentage of ethanol is used into the fuel. And that is how they're able to reduce basically the fuel consumption, that is uh, using the crude oil and this thing. In if you go to Finland, basically already the crude oil, that is petrol and diesel is basically banned. You can use only biofuel. So that is basically another area where, as you can see, people are moving on. So that will also help the weather of the global weather also, because more basically the gas it generates, the more heat it generates, or the carbon dioxide, it is going to have an impact on the overall weather of the earth. And also you have seen that the ozone layer that protects the earth's surface has already in some places got depleted or reduced, and for which in Australia we had got some acid rain also, because if the sunlight comes directly to the earth, and if the ozone layer is not there, that basically can cause a lot of problem to the humans. You can so ozone layer actually protects the human beings. Similarly, I've seen with the increase in the temperature, the ice has already started melting and the sea level is going up and up. Now, if the sea level continues to increase like this level, in fact, it is said that the Venice, which is a beautiful city in Italy, will go inside the sea. Similarly, those cities that are near in the coastal areas, for example, Calcutta, Chennai, Mumbai, will all go inside the sea. So to protect this, we basically has to manage the earth much, much better, and we cannot allow the earth temperature to increase, right? Any questions?
People are getting into an ever-inflating state of existential panic because of the climate change that is taking place as a result of our 2 centuries-long use of fossil fuels as our primary source of energy. With more people coming to realize the magnitude of the global warming threat, governments, companies, and private individuals are taking steps towards depending on renewable sources of energy, like solar and wind. The Internet of Things boom is set to further help these plans materialize by facilitating private power supply networks. According to some estimates, renewable energy is expected to fulfill almost 100% of the power supply needed to run the world's economy by 2050. Number 10, sharing economy. We're moving towards a world where we will barely own stuff anymore. We're coming to realize that it's often cheaper and more efficient to rent whatever we can give up on owning.
We're here to serve you with a court-ordered eviction.
Okay. We've been increasingly doing it with car rides as more people are using sharing services like Uber, and the same with real estate renting services like Airbnb.
So you've seen that, in fact, you have the Uber, Ola, or basically you can have those kind of right? Some apps which basically helps that the driver can have some of the people boarding those, right? Using the app. Similarly, like the hotels, where the person is having a room can basically rent it out using using the app, or basically if you got a car parking, right? You can basically putting into the app, and when somebody needs that car parking, can use it. Using this, all those things basically are using kind of a IoT and also basically the Internet of Things. Right? So one can basically access the app and can basically place the order. Similarly, can look into whether it's availability and able to serve the different people. And this is kind of an industry. What we have seen is that though Uber does not own any car, for example, it has got so many operators right around the world where which basically runs the largest number of cabs around the world.
Today, more services are joining that new sharing model, with apps being built on rental services for household equipment, office spaces, and even leisure boats. Thanks to smartphones, more people are connected and thus gaining access to these services on both the provider and consumer sides.
So, for example, if in Bangalore you've got Quick Ride, right? So you can basically download an app called Quick Ride, and you can just basically say from this place to this place I have to go. Now, if any person basically who has having a car and he or she is traveling into that direction, based on that, the person can basically see the number of seats available, and using that app, you can basically take a ride at much less price than a cab. And of course, the owner of the car also gets some basically credit points or some money so that it can cover his petrol or diesel cost. So as you can see, it's a win-win situation for both the person who is traveling at the comfort of a cab and at a reduced price, and also the person who owns that car can get some extra money for having his driving from home to office, for example.
Number 11, e-learning. As we shift towards a future more dependent on innovation than
Do you want to make your calendar?
Currently,
from
what
this
I'm teaching is
to
through
this?
an e-learning, right?
If yes,
So,
then keep.
than
so
on
as you
formal
can see,
college certificates.
learning is basically more in the COVID, right? Our learning would have stopped if e-learning was not there. So as you can see, this is basically a huge trend that is coming up, and basically using that, people will get benefited, and there is a huge number of businesses also happening. So some of the companies which are into this e-learning will generate good amount of revenue.
Certificates, and where the value of your knowledge is based on what you can create and not what degrees you hold. And finally, facilitated by all the technologies we just mentioned, e-learning is definitely the future of education. With more people on the internet than ever before, and with VR technology and artificial intelligence applications expanding into our daily lives, creating more engaging, customizable, and effective learning experiences will make e-learning the primary means of education in the not very far future. Number 12, big data. You probably noticed that almost every industry we mentioned is dependent on data in one way or another. Data is what artificial intelligence systems learn from, and increasing the efficiency of our economic decisions will be, in the first place, a matter of good data. Whoever is able to acquire data and has the proper methods for analyzing it will be a central player in the future economy. Data scientists are right now becoming essential players in every arena, from marketing to healthcare to politics.
So, students, you have to understand, big data is basically an area where there is a tremendous scope is there in the analytics and this thing. And as you can see, there is billions of basically sensors around the world, which is collecting enormous number of gigabytes of data, right? And this keep on increasing. Now, all this data, once they're in the cloud, but need to be proper analyzed. The person who are able to do it will basically rule the world in basically in the marketing and basically of the product with the correct analysis that has been done. For example, just take into account if you know which is the market that will give you maximum profit, and basically what are basically the market or the trends of mega trends that is going into that market, right? So this will basically provide the company with the first mover approach and basically able to generate huge amount of money. You take an example of Zara. You heard of that company, right? Zara basically, if you see, they basically in the shops around the world, you will have what is the latest trend available that is there in the shop, right? You have to think as part of the supply chain, they need to minimum order around 2 to 3 months back, right? Because those are manufactured in different countries and they need to be shipped and then they need to be put into the stores. After 2 months, if you go to the Zara shop, you will find those products that were there are not there. A new kind of a trend that basically the predicts, right? And based on those, all the materials, all the products are there, the dresses, the shoes, and everything. And that is how Zara has become so much popular around the world. And the Zara basically focuses on the trends and mega trends. Now, based on this, they need to also put into the back end, right? They need to create those, they need to manufacture those, then they need to shift it because it's not a one-day job. Because, for example, something getting manufactured in China, that need to be basically, they know which are the stores around the world they need to send it, right? They need to basically put it into a container. Then from the container, they need to manage the locations nearby port that will be basically need to be dispatched. Then there has to be a truck. Basically, after getting all the customs and other clearance need to be done, they need to be through the trucks, move to the central warehouse in that country or that nearby into that city. And from there, again, basically, the movement has to happen to those stores. So as you can see, there is a huge amount of supply chain management that need to be done also behind this. Only once they know what are the trends and mega trends happening in the basically fashion industry or into the people's choices, particular to that, they will basically going to provide basically the design and manufacture of those. Take example, the shoes, for example. If you go to a Zara shop, you will find the shoes that are available today may not be available after 3 months, right? And similarly, those shoes 3 months or 2 months before you have visited the Zara shop are absolutely different, right? So as you can see, they are basically working on kind of a analytics, which basically make them the market leaders in the trends and mega trends. So this is just an example for all of you.
Number 13, 3D printing. 3D printing technologies now include all kinds of material, enabling individuals to home manufacture their own spare parts and stationary items, and at the same time, giving companies new alternatives for construction and car manufacturing. This technology is giving us bright visions of a future where manufacturing is democratized. Will it be the end of mass production? Possibly, but that's a bit far-fetched and extra optimistic. What we know is that 3D printing will transform our manufacturing capabilities and costs, and will make us as individuals able to create our own products in our very own homes. It will also cut a large portion of companies' construction and manufacturing costs. All we can be sure of is that 3D printing is the tool of our new industrial era. Number 14, blockchain technology. With the Bitcoin.
So how many of you know about blockchain? In fact, you've heard of basically the cryptocurrencies, right? But blockchain actually is used in the financial world a lot, right? Using its distributed ledger. Now, you have to understand that blockchain actually plays a very, very vital role in basically current industry. The reason for that is that it is basically one of the secured way of basically having the data. Right? If you, in this currently what is happening is that there are so many hackers around the world which hacks the information. Now, that is why blockchain is going to play a very, very critical and important role. So actually what happens is blockchain is an invention that can change our world of today, right? And which that is why you can see it's not the Bitcoins or basically Euro coins and that thing are there, but this technology is used in basically in the FSI and other industries. So just to let you know what is blockchain, blockchain technology is a very practical solution to the problem of storing and authenticating and protecting data. You can just think of a data chain as a decentralized, extremely secure database or to get a slightly more technical, it is a distributed peer-to-peer ledger of records. And that is why it is called distributed ledger. While nothing is ever totally hack-proof, blockchain represents a huge leap forward compared to our current data security technology. As unlike a centralized database, there is no single point of failure. Right? The record in a blockchain are called blocks, and every block is connected to the previous blocks. Hence, block and chain. That is why this is called blockchain. The whole chain is self-managed, which means there is no one person or organization in charge of the entire chain. If that sounds familiar, it might be because the virtual currency Bitcoin functions on blockchain technology, which I was telling you. The financial services, insurance, and healthcare are just some of the sectors where blockchain is likely to be heavily adopted. In fact, 90% of the major European and North American banks are exploring blockchain solutions. And as you can understand, there's a huge amount of money that is going to be invested in this. And that is where basically this is going to be the technology of the future. And if you work on that, basically you can basically have better placements and also your value in the organization.
Frenzy that has taken over the world's financial markets in the past couple of years, we came to frequently hear the term blockchain. It's the decentralized public ledger mechanism at the heart of cryptocurrencies, but cryptocurrencies are far from its only application. If there is one technology that has the potential to create the decentralized, comprehensive ecosystem that will facilitate all of these other industries we mentioned in a more secure and efficient way, it is definitely blockchain. Based on this technology, there are companies being launched that want to put our finances, research, identity management, and even voting processes on the blockchain.
So identity management is very, very critical and very important, where there is a lot of basically hacking happens, right? To protect that, blockchain technology are getting adopted by multiple agencies and also financial institutes and also in healthcare because they want to protect the data of the users.
Basically the new face of the internet, and innovations in this technology will become among the most valuable contributions anyone can make to the future economy.
Okay, so this is basically about some of the trends and mega trends that I was talking about, but this is only represent about basically 14 what I saw, but there are multiple others that are also around the world are going to come up, right? So as you can see, there is a trend that are happening. Now, whether you are part of this trend or mega trends, right, that will determine basically where you're going to go. Now, if you are working on some old technologies or the trends what are not there into the future that is coming up, basically maybe lagging behind. And if you want to move ahead, right, then you need to choose yourself and select basically what are the trends and mega trends that is happening around. Any questions, student, before I move on to the next slide?
No.
Okay. Yes, student. Okay, so we are going to talk about the smart city. Now tell me what you understand by smart city. Yes, students. Can you tell me what you understand by smart city? Okay, so just to let you know, smart city is basically a city where basically you have your resources properly utilized in a smart way. For example, there is proper surveillance that is happening. You have basically kind of a where you have the using of renewable energy. You're able to use, right? Basically your energies, and also you have use of the AI, ML, and using IoT to make your life more friendly to be there in the city. Now, in India, for example, the government of India has said they're going to create more than 100 smart cities, right? Now, for example, we have got in India, Dolera Smart City, which is in the Delhi-Mumbai highway, and which is almost 110 kilometers from Ahmedabad. So it has got a world-class airport with speed rail tracks, right? Multimodal transportation system, intelligent traffic management system, smart grids, sustainable water management, because water is one of the key element, the sustainable also resources, energy. Then it has got a waste management system, smart buildings, smart education system, smart healthcare system. So all those things, as you can understand, requires a lot of IoT devices. And right, so this is where basically the smart city concept has come, where people at the end of basically find how basically they're going to have the life much, much better, because all of you are going to work day and basically doing a lot of work in the offices or this thing. But how your lifestyle, how it can improve with basically less effort, how you can enjoy. For example, the smart security system, right? It has got proper, basically sustainable water. It has got using IoT. You will have basically your orders coming to your doorsteps, right? All those things can be done. Now, for example, in Karnataka, there are multiple smart cities also has been planned. Like one are like examples are Bangalore, Shimoga, Mangalore, Tumkur, Hubli, Dharwad, Devangiri, and Balau. Excuse me. So as you can, let's go and see a video so that it will help to make you understand much, much better what is a smart city.
With thousands of camera and other live information sources available, finding and tracking relevant information in any cities through IoT system.
For example, if you go to Singapore, right, you will find very less police around the streets of because everywhere there is basically CCTV cameras and surveillance cameras. And from the monitoring room, they are able to manage the whole city. Just to give you an example.
We can track the people and the crowd in the buildings. Manage the entire school, students and assets, and also any business place. We can also control the building through data such as switch off the lights, air conditioner, etc. Also we can process the satellite images for route and city planning through artificial intelligence. Also we can do facial recognition, facial emotion and expression in the crowd.
So if you remember, I have mentioned before, the airports using the facial recognition, they're able to basically identify if there is any basically terrorist or basically person has entered or not. Next is that if the person's activities is not normal, they immediately can send a security guard to check whether this is suspicious or not. So, and then based on that, they can take action, because there are millions of people going to the airport. It will be very, very difficult to look and search each and every person and basically kind of an activity they're going to do. So they are based on some algorithm, or based on some this thing they already create. If they see the person is a little bit panicky or basically a suspicious movement, then automatically that person gets tracked.
detect the gender, male, female. We are able to cover the human body detection. They don't have it and we can do it with specific actions such as running, walking, trying to kill, etc. Can do the object detection such as car, traffic lights, etc. We can track the location who enters into the restricted areas.
For example, if you go to USA, basically the home security systems are absolutely attached to the connected to the police station, right? If any burglars or any basically person or trespassers entered the house or basically open the door, automatically alert will be given to the nearby police station and the police will come immediately. How the police basically from the tracking system, they will who are in the patrol, who are near that area will be police contact them and from there they can come immediately and can find out any trespassers or burglars has entered the house. So as you can see that if you're traveling outside, you've gone to your office or this thing, your home is safe because you have got those sensors or monitoring system, whereby if there is any infringement or if any person break your security system, automatically an alert goes to the police stations and this thing, and automatically those are able to get caught, right? So you can see how beneficial a smart cities or this thing is happening, where you can go peacefully to your office, you can do your work, or you can travel around the world, leaving your things behind, where it is quite safe.
Virtual avatar can easily connect to human. If any case, avatar can connect doctors online for a consult.
Symptoms might include tremor, rigidity, slowness of movement, and balance problems. Does that help?
A lot. Thanks, Ava.
I've got Dr. Frank on the line. He's ready for your appointment.
We can track the classroom student to find their moods and expression in each student and also track their moods in general to identify their happiness, mental illness, depression, and psychiatry problems. We prefer automatic attendance system to find their present.
So as you can see, this kind of a psychological behavior can also be tracked and it can be found. Now, if you remember, I was saying also like in USA, you can see so much of shooting that happens in the school or college campus, right? Now, if those kind of kids can be identified before, then basically they can be treated, the psychological elements, and also proper guidance can be given so the whole schools and college campuses can be quite safe for the kids and the kids' parents. Because if those kind of kids comes with the gun into the school and fire randomly, then basically a lot of innocent kids and teachers can get killed or get injured, right? So to prevent that, you can basically have with the facial image recognition, you can basically find out whether there is a trauma or basically any psychological disorder in the kid is having or not. Based on that, proper basically action can be taken and basically unforeseen events of basically people getting killed or injured due to gunfire can be stopped, right? So as you can see, you can make basically life of the people more secure and also happy by having this kind of technologies, which are quite helpful and beneficial, right? Any questions? Are you able to hear me? Yes, students, are you able to hear me? Hello? Are you able to hear me? Hello, students?
Virtual tutors who designed and personalized to connect with students. Create the animated characters to connect with the child abused kinds to get improved from their state. We do this through AI.
Right, so let me stop sharing now. Now let me know basically any questions from your side before I move on to the next topic. Yes, students, any questions? So any questions you're having? Then basically let us have our session closed today, and we can have more on the smart city and other interesting topic next week, and what are the trends and mega trends that is happening around the world, right? Now you have seen there are basically companies already saying that they are going to have lesser number of people they're going to recruit in 2024, right? Because the cost is going around the world. There is also a fear of basically depression, or basically their fear that their market can see a severe kind of rise in the inflation cost, and also they are fearing that this prolonged war between Russia and Ukraine, the food crisis, the banking system failure can lead to a kind of a turmoil into the 2024. Now, just to let you know that if you do not focus yourself to the new trends or mega trends and don't equip yourself and to the new technologies, you will be left behind, right? Because the number of basically available jobs will be getting lesser. And of course, next few months, what I will request you, focus on the technologies or the passion you're having, work on that, then of course create your own value in the market. And companies will basically looking forward to absorb those students or those individuals who are well equipped with the latest technology, right? So I'm just giving you some of the things that are happening around the industry. You can, of course, read it in the newspaper, you can read it into the news. That is basically what is happening around us. So, with this, I wanted to close today's session. And I'll just again request if you've got any questions, please let me know. Hello, students, any questions? Okay, then thank you, everybody, and have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.